They say that history is written by the victors. But in the history of the divine, the greatest victories are often won by the smallest soldiers. We are told stories of giants, of armies that shook the earth, of kings who commanded the wind and the sea. But the greatest tyrant to ever walk the face of the earth was not destroyed by an army. He was not humbled by a storm. He was not buried by a flood. He was brought to his knees by this, God's smallest soldier. A creature so weak it has no bones. A thing so insignificant you crush it without a second thought. But this tiny thing was chosen for a specific purpose. It was chosen to humiliate a man who believed he was greater than the stars. This is the true story of Nimrod, the first man to wear a crown of gold, the first to enslave his brothers, and the first to declare an open war on the heavens themselves. Babylon, 2,000 years before the rise of Rome, it was here that one man held absolute power, Nimrod. He was a giant of a man, carved from muscle and ambition. He looked at the sun rising in the east and felt no humility. He looked at the people starving in the dust and felt no mercy. He gathered his people in the great square. He stood upon his balcony, draped in the skins of lions, and he spoke a lie that would poison the world. He said to them, I am the one who gives life and death. I hold the grain that feeds you. I hold the sword that protects you. Therefore, I am your Lord. He conquered the known world, from the rivers of the Tigris to the sands of the west. There was no king who could stand against his sword. His armies were invincible. His wealth was endless. But for a heart full of darkness, the earth is not enough. He looked up. He saw the clouds. He saw the domain of the unseen, and he felt a burning jealousy. There was one kingdom he did not own, one throne he could not sit on. So he gave the command. Build, he said. Build me a tower, a ziggurat that will pierce the skin of the sky. I want to see this God of Ibrahim. I want to look him in the eye. I want to climb up to his gates. And I want to kill him. And so the madness began. For years the smoke of the kilns blackened the sky. Thousands of slaves died in the mud, their bodies broken under the weight of the king's ego. They baked millions of bricks in fire until they were harder than stone. Layer by layer the tower rose. It spiraled upward like a serpent. It went higher than the birds could fly. It went so high, the legends say, that a worker at the top could drop a stone, and it would take minutes to hit the ground. It stood as a monument to one thing, not to greatness, but to human arrogance. Finally, the day came. The tower breached the clouds. Nimrod climbed the thousands of steps to the summit. The air was thin and cold. The world below looked like an ant farm. He stood on the roof of the world, and he felt untouchable. He called for his weapon, his great black bow, the bow that had conquered nations. He notched a black arrow. He pulled the string back with all his might, his muscles trembling with rage. He aimed it straight up, vertically, into the empty, infinite blue. He screamed his challenge to the Creator, and he loosed the arrow. It flew into the heavens. It disappeared into the sky, swallowed by the height. The king waited. The army below waited. The world held its breath. And then the arrow returned. It fell from the sky and landed at the king's feet. Nimrod picked it up. His eyes went wide. The tip of the arrow was stained with fresh, bright red blood. He laughed, a manic, deluded laugh that echoed off the stones. The fool truly believed he had wounded the divine. He shouted to his army, "I have done it! I have killed the god of the sky." But the response from the heavens was not lightning. It was not a thunderbolt. It was not an earthquake to shake his tower down. It was a sound. A low hum on the horizon, like the vibration of a distant string. The soldiers looked to the east. They saw a black cloud rising from the desert floor. It moved against the wind. It moved with intelligence. "Shields!" the captain shouted. "Arrows!" But shields cannot stop the air itself. The cloud descended on the army. It was not rain. It was life. Millions upon millions of gnats. They were hungry. They were precise. They did not bite the camels. They did not bite the horses. They went specifically for the eyes. The army that had conquered the world was defeated in minutes. Men dropped their swords and clawed at their own faces. The screams of 100,000 men were drowned out by the deafening buzz of the swarm. They ran. The invincible legion ran in terror from insects. And amidst the chaos, the king stood alone on his balcony. The swarm did not touch him. He watched his power evaporate, and he stood unharmed. One single gnat. A tiny, limping creature, separated from the swarm. It flew towards the king. It didn't attack him. It didn't bite him. It simply entered. It flew up his nose and crawled deep into the cavities of his skull. And there it stayed. It began to buzz. For 400 years, the historians say, Nimrod lived in this state. The king who silenced nations could not silence the buzzing in his own head. It was a torture beyond imagination. He could not sleep. He could not think. He could not rule. The mighty king would fall to his knees and beg his servants to hit him. He would order his slaves to take their shoes and strike him on the head. The impact would stop the buzzing for just a moment. Imagine the irony. The man who wanted the world to bow at his feet was now begging his own slaves to hit him with their sandals. He lived as a god, but he died like an animal. And when he finally died, the gnat left him. Its mission was complete. Today, the tower is gone. The gold is dust. The empire is buried under the sands of Iraq. Look at the ruins. The wind has swept away his footprints. It is a warning for all of us. No matter how high you build your towers, no matter how much gold you hoard, no matter how powerful you think you become, you are small. And to the creator of the universe, the greatest tyrant is no stronger than a fly. This was the story of Nimrod. For more lessons from history that remind us of who we truly are, subscribe to Faith Stories. Peace be upon you.